Hey there, Matt Hamilton, author of Through Travel and Air, Confessions of an Asylum-Seeking Canadian. Welcome back to my online readings. Today it's chapter 5, which is called Get Lost. It's about my desire to visit Amsterdam. I've been a very open smoker for quite a number of years, and Amsterdam has a certain appeal to it if you're a smoker. Now, when I arrived, I, again, like most places, didn't know anything about it, and made my way directly to a hostel, checked in, and was ready to go out. Now, in this particular dorm room was quite a large group of North Americans who were friendly. They offered to show me the way through the red light district and go out for a smoke. And being new to the city, I decided, well, maybe it'd be a good idea I go with them. But as it turned out, it was a bit of a mistake. So this is chapter 5, Get Lost. We easily made it from the hostel to the edge of the infamous red light district, but then the headache began. The group stopped. The group pulled out a map. They argued about which cafe to see, and they debated about which route they should take. The group expressed their concerns about getting lost. They consulted their maps and deliberated some more. Were they serious? Were we not in the red light district? Were there not coffee shops and therefore weed to smoke everywhere? I smelled the sweet odor of burning buds. The aroma seemed to emerge from every direction. It didn't matter to me where we went or how we got there. All I wanted to do was smoke a joint in a public venue. It was dumb enough arguing where we should smoke since the answer was anywhere. But to stand there with a map? We weren't Hansel and Gretel in the Black Forest. There were people everywhere. How could we possibly get lost? When I was at my snapping point, the group decided on a destination and marched out. Now, I really did just want to sit down and smoke, and after what seemed like an eternity, we did find this place, this Rasta Cafe, and I went up to the bar and got my gram, and I really was looking forward to skinning up in a public venue and just relaxing and smoking, but it was not to be. The idiot next to me was from Florida. I knew this because that was all he could jabber about. Florida is better than this, Florida is better than that, Florida has bigger this, Florida has bigger that, Florida, Florida, fucking Florida. I wanted to ask this guy why he left if he had such an obvious hard-on for the place. I honestly didn't give a shit if Florida had better weed or better drive-through banking. In case he hadn't noticed, we were in Amsterdam. There wasn't an orange grove in sight. I wanted to tell the guy to mellow out so I could focus on the task at hand, getting stoned. I didn't though. I kept my mouth shut. He kept blabbing. I did the only thing I could do other than tell him to shut up. I palmed my spliff and said I was going to the toilet. I locked myself into a stall, sat down, and relit the joint. I took a deep, long drag, leaned back on the porcelain, and smiled. I thought of Russ, Chris, and Danny, and my other toking buddies. I wish they could all share this smoke with me. It was only then that I properly chilled out. It wasn't the most glorious venue for my first joint in Amsterdam, but at least it was in a public place. And from there, you know what? I bailed. I said enough of these guys, and I snuck out. And I had actually a brilliant night coffee shop hopping, and got home quite late, quite stoned, pretty drunk, and passed out, and was awoken the next morning to a familiar face. I opened my eyes to Mr. Florida shaking me and telling me to hurry up. Still unsure if I was conscious or stuck in some cruel dream, I asked why. Well, we've got a busy day planned. First, we're going to the Anne Frank Museum. From there, it's off to see the Rembrandt. After that, we should be close to lunchtime. There's a great little cafe near the museum. After lunch, we're heading to... It was way too early to deal with this dribble. I had to put an end to it. I explained that I was still tired from last night and I needed to sleep. In fact, I was certain I would be sleeping for quite some time, and that they should go off on their own, and I would be fine by myself. I thought the same excuse that I used with Brian in Glasgow might work with this bunch. Regrettably, they were just as persistent as my first friend. Well, Mr. Florida asked, do you even know where you're going? He asked in a tone that suggested I was a fucking idiot who didn't know how to tie his shoes. I explained I didn't mind walking around aimlessly. I said it was next to impossible to actually get lost in a city. Mr. Florida looked at me as if I just farted on a baby's head. He spat out, fine then, and stormed out of the room. The rest of the group grabbed their packs, maps, water bottles, compasses, breadcrumbs, and whatever piece of survival equipment they needed for the wild streets of Amsterdam and followed the alpha male out of their room. The dorm was left with an icy chill. Yeah, you know what? And I bailed. I actually packed my bags and found another hostel and went off and got lost, so to speak. And I hopped around. I found the Hemp and Marijuana Museum and smoked some vaporized weed with this Cherokee Indian and got absolutely roasted. And from there, strolled into the Pornographic Museum, which was quite interesting. And from there, I came across a sex show. And now, pornography is another thing that's quite open in Amsterdam, and seeing a live sex show is something a lot of tourists do. And I went in, and the first act was this young lady who came out and stripped and asked for a volunteer, and I decided to go up on stage. And she asked me to pull out this ribbon from her, pardon my language, vagina, which happened to be about 50 feet long. Anyways, I sat down quite amazed. Remember, I'm very, very stoned. And the next girl came out, and, well, she asked for a volunteer, and nobody wanted to help, so I'll explain what happened from there. To my utter disbelief, nobody raised their hand. I was baffled. Had these people not witnessed what just transpired with the pink ribbon? Were they not crawling over each other to volunteer? I gave it another couple seconds and dutifully raised my hand. This decision had nothing to do with being high or a gentleman. This decision was based on curiosity and the desire to have a bird's eye view of whatever bodily accomplishment this girl might perform. I made my way front and center, did the introduction formality, and again, the girl lay naked on her back. I thought I knew what I was supposed to do, and I was close to diving in and exploring. I think the girl could sense my anxiousness because she quickly said, "No, there isn't anything in there. Yet." Yet. With that, she pulled out a foot-long vibrator from the bag she had brought on stage. She asked, "Do you know what to do with this?" Was she kidding? An elephant would be hard-pressed to know what to do with something that huge. I think the girl noticed my eyes popping out of my head and guessed that the machinery overwhelmed me. She said, "Here, let me show you." She took the monstrosity and inserted it between her legs as if it were a toothpick. I thought the miracle of childbirth was something to see, but this spectacle was out of this world. The girl took a break from her masturbating and looked up at me. "Do you think she can help me now?" I didn't know if my wrists were strong enough, but I was willing to give it an attempt. Now, I could go on, but I want to let you maybe purchase the book to find out. But basically, I was having these out-of-body experiences where I was like, wow, you know what? Where am I? I'm certainly a long, long ways from Canada. This is certainly a different approach to life and life experience for me. But yeah, Amsterdam, you know what? Actually, I settled into a bit of a routine after that first day of wandering around. I found a coffee shop that I quite enjoyed, and spent the next 2 weeks sitting in one spot, smoking and watching the world come and go, talking to people as they came. And I think if it wasn't for the weather turning shitty on me, I would have stuck around a lot longer. But the weather got worse, and the way I decided where I was going next was based on a poster. I was sitting in this hostel having a joint and all chilled out, and I looked up and there was a poster that said Pink Palace in a place called Corfu, Greece. And you know, I knew Corfu, or I didn't know Corfu, but I knew Greece was probably warm at that time of year, and that was it. I bought my ticket and off I went to Corfu, which is where we'll go in the next chapter, chapter 6, which is incidentally called the Prague Experiment, but starts in Corfu. But thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed my little wander through Amsterdam. I just gave you a snippet there. It was actually quite an interesting chapter, worthwhile your read. And if you are interested in purchasing the book, MadMatty'sWorld.com. You can find out where to get the book through Travel and Air, Confessions of an Asylum-Seeking Canadian, or hey, go online, Google the title of my name, and you'll have a whole smorgasbord of options. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy the smoke. Peace.